Bengals Breakdown with Billy Beebe back with you. Try saying that 10 times fast. Actually, we are going to talk about the 2Cs, cut candidates for the Bengals, some guys to watch. We're talking about the notable names. The Bengals, of course, are going to make cuts to get the roster ready for free agency, the draft, so on and so forth. But we're going to talk about the bigger names that fans may debate if they're worthy of being cut or keeping for the offseason here. But first, we want to test out you Bengals fans. Like the video right now, and you will see one of three things when you hit that like button. A football will fly by. That means you know ball. You're doing a good job. Keep watching the videos. A thumbs up. That means you're a real one. You've been watching a lot of videos lately. Or if you get a soccer ball, my personal advice is watch more Bengals Breakdown. Hit that thumbs up button right now and let us know what you got. First cut candidate for the Bengals that I've got on the list here, Orlando Brown Jr., a.k.a. Up and Down Brown. He has had his moments with the Bengals, and then he's had his moments with the Bengals. This is about money. We're talking money here. The big thing here, of course, will always be the pre- and post 6-1 savings. For a lot of these players, that's going to be like the big deal, right? That June 1st savings, $14.22 million. That's big for the Bengals to have that money to use in the offseason, or kind of establishing, is Brown worth this much, right? That cap hit of $26 million in 2026. Those are the numbers I always watch for. What are you saving, and what is the cap hit for a candidate like this? Was Orlando Brown Jr. good, bad, in between? Look, this was like the big free agent signing for them a few years ago to get him from the Ravens, divisional rival, get him on the Bengals, protecting Joey B. First things first, I played all season. I'll give him his credit there. The big thing for me when deciding with Orlando Brown Jr., we'll talk about this later with some other guys. Think about the position. Think about the market, the draft. How hard is it going to be to replace Orlando Brown Jr. and or get that sort of production and or play risk and reward at that position? And we're talking about left tackle here, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're replacing Orlando Brown Jr., I understand you want better. You want the best for Joe Burrow. However, when you hit that market, whether it be the market itself in the free agency market or the draft, you really have to decide, can we do better than Orlando Brown Jr.? Are we getting 17 games played with those stats that we just showed you, with that sort of maybe connection with the rest of the O-line, which I always put some stock in, some faith in? Tough situation there, which is why we're going to ask you what you would do. What would you do with Orlando Brown Jr.? Type K for keep him. Type C for cut him. Time to decide down below. Next cut candidate for the Bengals, T.J. Slaton on the defensive line. Another tough one. You take a look at the savings, the cap hit for next season. My big thing, you liked this addition not too long ago to your team, and we'll take a look at the defensive tackle depth chart here in just a second, after we get into some other guys. The big thing for Slaton, in my opinion, solid stats. I just felt like it was noticeable that when he was off the field, you kind of felt like the Bengals weren't as good, right, when Slaton was off the field for them, whether it be stopping the run, whether it be getting after the quarterback, defense overall. Again, stats solid, played a lot of football for you last season. I think that's a big thing. Health is wealth, they always say, right? Big thing here is I recognized when he was off the field, I could feel it. I could feel that, like, they're getting worse because Slaton's off the field right now. That play hurt because Slaton's off the field. I don't know if you want to take that step. He wasn't overly great this year, but the defense, again, not better, getting worse when he's off the field. So got to consider that when it comes to T.J. Slaton. Want to remind you guys before we get to the other candidates here, the big game is almost here. There's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than PrizePicks, where it always feels good to be right. And since the big game is right around the corner, this also means it is your last chance to get in on the football action before you got to look towards next season. So close the season out right with PrizePicks by getting $50 instantly in lineups when you play your first $5 lineup for pick power play for the conference championships this weekend. Take a look. I went really feeling the Drake May party here. I feel like he's looking good. We went more on his passing yards at 227.5. Pair that with his opponent, a very fresh, meaning he hasn't played lately, Jarrett Stidham. I'm going less there. I think they're actually going to try and work Harvey out of the backfield a little bit in Denver, so that 185.5 passing yards for Stidham feels like less overall. They're not going to lean on him too much. And then the battle of the NFC West, more and more on the passing yards for Matthew Stafford and Sam Darnold. That's a 4-pick power play. You could do 3-pick power play, 2-pick power play, however you guys want to do it. It has to be at least 2 on PrizePicks. My advice, too, with the big game coming up, as we discussed, whether it be these big games this weekend or the big game after that, get with somebody and say, hey, when we hang out, let's have the same picks on PrizePicks so we can have a better time watching the game. Show them the app. Show them how easy it is to do. Show them the 4-pick power play, the 2-pick power play. You guys get what I'm saying there on that one. Also, the new feature alert can tell them the fact that if your lineup gets off to a great start, early payouts is now something that PrizePicks have. So now you may have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. Download the app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, don't forget it. Feels good to be right. Another defensive tackle to discuss for the Cincinnati Bengals as a cut candidate, B.J. Hill. And this is where you got to be careful because you're digging into your defensive tackle depth at this point, right? It's Slaton. Maybe it's Slaton and Hill, Slaton or Hill. Both guys have to be considered, and he's got the pre-post savings that are a big difference maker. So honestly, you kind of have a little bit more time to save more money if you want to cut him. Big thing here is the roster bonus that's due in March for B.J. Hill. So that may play into it. This is where everyone wants to be a GM until you got to be a GM with the numbers side of things. A guy like B.J. Hill. Solid, played a lot of games. That's kind of the theme with a lot of these guys is solid, good, not great, played a lot of games. And I'm giving you these cut candidates. It's tough calls on these guys in general. And I honestly think B.J. Hill is going to be back. I think he did enough. I think your room overall with the defensive tackles, looking at the draft, looking at some other stuff, I don't know that you're just automatically good to go and good to get into it with these names. And again, with the defensive tackle room, we looked at Slaton. Now you cut Hill. And look, one, both, I don't know how many you want to make that decision on, but there's a scenario where you don't want to cut both your starting defensive tackles, and then you're leaning on guys like Chris Jenkins Jr., who's still young and you're not sold on, and McKinley Jackson, who you're really not sold on. So got to be careful with Hill and Slaton cut-wise. Those names are brought up. Other names that could be brought up, maybe we've named them so far, maybe we're going to name them. Name a player you would like to cut from the Bengals, whether it be about one bad memory that you didn't like from them or just the money side of things. Fan favorite, Cody Ford? Is that accurate to say for Cody Ford, the offensive lineman, as he has played guard and tackle for the Bengals? This is an interesting one as well because you got to be careful on this O-line. Once again, you haven't done a good job building it so far. I don't know if I trust them to kind of build it on the fly, so to speak. So with Cody Ford, the big thing here was I think they got him as a depth piece. Then they thought maybe he could be a starter. Then he's back to a depth piece. And I think that has become very clear with the fact that he didn't start this past year with the Bengals. Now, he had his moments, and when you get a guy out mid-game or 4-1 game and he slots in there, I think he's solid. But, yeah, again, the Bengals have tested him out. Depth piece, gave him that shot to start, clearly reverted him back to a depth piece. And, look, you want to keep him as a depth piece? Great. If he hasn't worked out for what you thought he would be, then that's what it is with Cody Ford. Tough market in the offensive line market, whether you're going left tackle, right tackle. As far as Ford goes, if you can find someone to man that swing tackle position, great. Then you can cut Ford. If not, you have to tread lightly with your depth on the offensive line. Appreciate the Bengals fans that have subscribed so far. If you have not, help us reach our goals. We're headed to 24,000 subscribers. We'd love for you to be a part of it. Getting all that Bengals news, rumors, free agency, trade, draft over the offseason. Hit that sub button right now for free. Oren Burkes, and this is a interesting one too because of his relationship to the defense and his relationship to special teams, right? He is good at one and mediocre to not great at the other. He was not good on defense this past season. That's the big one here with Oren Burks. You're not going to save a ton of cheddar by cutting him. And special teams coaches tend to really fight for guys that can play both defense and special teams, because what would you rather have? Oren Burks, who's done well with special teams, or Oren Burks or a rookie that you have to try and coach up and get him to be a part of it? Again, okay at defense, solid, I don't know, not great actually, I guess is how I describe him. But you like the idea of him being a good special teams player for you, an experienced special teams player for you. You're going to have coaches that fight for that. However, there are going to be other coaches that sit down and say, I'm not keeping a guy for $2 million just so he can do pretty well on our punt team. I think that's kind of where we're landing with Oren Burks. Seems like a very cuttable player to me. All right, confidence level in the Bengals for NFL free agency. This is signings, cuts, keeps, ability to negotiate, however you want to put it. What is your confidence level in the Bengals? Duke Tobin, Zach Taylor, the ownership. Scale it for me, 1 to 10. Another fan favorite, Ted Karras on the offensive line. And another position, I will note, it's tough to find a good center, a stable center. So if you really want to get into that game, fine, go ahead, get out there and do it. He'll be 33 years old this upcoming season. I still think this is a guy that can play 17 games for you next year at a good level. Maybe he's not one of the better centers in the NFL, but man, when you have one of the worst or not as great centers in the NFL, you will notice quickly. I think Karras, again, continuity on that offense line, having those guys together, getting better together, keeping the ones that are good, right? If you're making mistakes, don't get rid of the guys you didn't make a mistake on. And that's kind of where I land with Karras. Also a leader, just a vocal guy, community guy. He feels like a Bengal, right, in general. So, again, how many times have I said in this video? Tread lightly when you cut somebody about your ability to replace them, because you are hoping, of course, your team will be good in 2026.